Okay, we're continuing on the candy graphing activity. Now you need the class data. You already have your own personal data, so you're going to access the class data from your email and Canvas, and then you can proceed through the rest of the candy graphing activity. The next thing we're going to do is make some dot plots. So you need all the class data to make your dot plots. So you take the sheet provided in your worksheet, and there's a blank dot plot for each one of them. Here's an example. So you're going to identify the maximum and the minimum yellow candies from any group sample. So if there's somebody who has none, who had no yellow M&Ms, then theirs would be 0. Your minimum would be 0. And if somebody in your class had 20 yellows, then your maximum would be 20. And you're going to use the dot plots page, and you're going to label it yellow candies, and you're going to make sure you label your max and your min, make a nice even interval, and each person who has that number of yellow candies in their sample, you're going to record an X above there. You can use dots, but they're harder to see, so I like using X's. Sample dot plot. So let's say your class data you only had 7 students in it, and 1 student in your class had 2 M&Ms in their bag, 2 students had 5 M&Ms in their bag, 3 students had 8 M&Ms in their bag, and 1 student had 14 M&Ms in their bag. So notice there's a title, there's all the tick marks are labeled, and you have your minimum and your maximum labeled, and there's a nice even interval. So make sure you make dot plots for each of the colors in your class data. So after you're completing all the dot plots, find the number of candies for each color in the samples, as well as the total number of candy pieces in the samples. So how many brown did everyone in our class have? How many orange did everyone in our class have? How many blues did everybody in our class have? Greens, reds, yellows, and then total all of these. So I'll show you an example of that. Remember here, if we wanted to know how many yellow M&Ms this class had, we would say, okay, here was 2. This time 2 people had 5, so this is technically 10 candies. This is 3 people had 8, so there's 24 candies here. And then one person had 14 candies. So you would take 14 plus 24, which would be 38, plus 10, which would be 48, plus 2, so there would be a total of 50 M&Ms in this class's sample. I hope that helps you figure that out. Let's talk about dot plots. Why do we like dot plots, or what's the advantage of them? You may or may not have noticed when you were making them, but you can see the individual data. It's fairly easy to create. It's nice to read. You can identify the extreme values. The disadvantages of dot plots is it's not necessarily great on really large data sets, and you have to do multiplication to find those totals. And it's important that you make your sizes of your dots or your X's consistent so it's easy to see them. I hope that helps you understand how to do dot plots.